This one's wife, the disappearing Duchess. Oh, I hear you cry, if only that were the case, HG. If only she would disappear up her own fundament, the world would be a much better place. But it would appear, according to one journalist, that this one's wife has been the disappearing Duchess. Laura Pullman, who writes in The Times, poses the question, what's next for this one's wife, the disappearing Duchess? After a peculiarly quiet 2023, she may return to acting, plunge into politics, or just keep enjoying her millions in California. Well, let's find out what's being written about her. Do they understand why she's behaved as she does because of her narcissism, or do they attribute it to something else? Let's not tempt fate, the author writes, but the Duchess of Sussex has been flying largely under the radar all year. The brickbats, once regularly flung at the royal family from her Monty Shitshow mansion, have stopped. The glossy cover interviews and magazine guest editor slots have stopped. The podcast, praise be, has stopped. The spectacularly successful, spectacularly dire Harry and This One's Wife Netflix documentary came out last December, a lifetime ago in celebrity dockland. There have been no big controversies, career or house moves. It's all gone strangely quiet. Well, I don't think that in itself is entirely accurate, because whilst we're here in November, over the preceding last 10 months, there's been plenty of PR puff piece activity. We've seen various pap walks, appearing from the dentist with the anti-stress patch, the hiking in the middle of the road, the going to the farmer's market, the July the 4th celebrations, the supposed appearance at Halloween. There's the appearance at the Beyoncé concert. Supposedly she went to see Taylor Swift, but no photographs were produced, and therefore that's really questionable about whether that happened. She turned up and made it the Harry's Wife games at the Invictus Games in Dusseldorf. She was pictured in Portugal. She was pictured in the Caribbean. We, of course, had back in May the ridiculousness of the near-catastrophic car chase. She was largely absent around the promotion of Spare, and I explained to you why that was as she hung Harry out to dry. She wasn't seen with any of the promotional interviews. There was the bizarre appearance in the back garden ringing some young people while she wore a beige turtleneck. She's far from being disappeared, but in the grand scheme of things, the public appearances have been less, perhaps, of a grander scale. After all, she didn't attend the King's coronation. She hasn't made appearances in the United Kingdom. She wasn't there to mark the year after Queen Elizabeth's death. But she's still been hanging around, the influshable turd that she is. The writer continues by explaining that this one's wife's last proper trip to Britain was last September, arriving days before Queen Elizabeth died. This year, she dodged her father-in-law's coronation at Westminster Abbey in May. The Duke of Sussex cut a lonely figure in the third row. And when she flew to Germany for the Invictus Games this September, she managed to spend only 90 minutes on British soil as a stopover. The prospect of this one's wife curtsying to Queen Camilla any time soon is slim. And as I've explained to you, that's because her narcissism perceives too many threats in the United Kingdom and thus keeps her away. According to this writer, she played her part at the Invictus Games beautifully, dishing out medals, hugs and handshakes. Well, she just made the games all about her, didn't she? As see parts pass him. But generally 2023 has been an underwhelming vintage. All of which raises the questions. Why has this once irrepressible princess gone so quiet? How is this one's wife filling her days? To start with, the obvious answer. She's looking after her young children, Archie 4 and Lilibet 2. Again, the skeptics will say the children don't exist, so there's nobody to look after. Or, even if they do, we know that as a narcissist, she's not a hands-on mum. She will allocate that to this nanny, her mother, and other staff. Even this one's wife's harshest critics, form an orderly queue, accept that she's a doting hands-on mother. Well, again, that's inaccurate. Her harshest critics don't accept that she's a doting hands-on mother at all. They recognise that she's a narcissist and that either the children don't exist and have been invented, something that a narcissist may well do, or that they do exist but they're simply used as props to further the prime aims. During a speech at a low-key event in New York last month, she told the crowd, being a mum is the most important thing in my entire life, before gesturing to her husband and adding, outside of my marriage to this one. Of course, being a mum is the most important thing in my entire life, that I went to New York without them, and I went to Dusseldorf without them, and I went to Portugal without them, and I went to the Caribbean without them, and I went to Las Vegas without them. The hypocrisy that's writ large. The writer continues by explaining the family has spent large swathes of this year bunkered down in their 7.4-acre, 9-bedroom, 16-bathroom estate in Monte Shitshow, the town just down the Californian coast from Santa Barbara. Locals gripe that their involvement in the community is minimal. This, of course, is the laziness of this one's wife, whereby her narcissism tells her that she doesn't actually have to have any involvement. But last Tuesday afternoon, all 4 of the Sussexes were out taking part in Monte Shitshow's Halloween parade, Ghost Village Road, a pun on the Coast Village Road location. See parts passing. You get literally hundreds and hundreds of kids in costumes, so I'm sure that Harry and this one's wife felt that that was a safe place to be, obviously with their bodyguards, with guns in tow, which is not very Monty Shitshow, says Richard Minards, a British journalist who lives down the road from the Sussexes. It's the ideal time to take the kids out, so they wouldn't be recognised. No word yet on whether Harry was trusted to choose the family's costumes. The couple also appeared at a recent charity fundraiser held at Kevin Costner's Oceanside mansion, along with Ellen DeGeneres and Oprah Winfrey. As to why this one's wife is keeping a quieter profile, various theories have been floated. Some suggest that it is a conscious break after too much negative exposure. But another reason could be to conserve energy is her legal battle with her half-sister. On Wednesday, Samantha Markle will be back in court in Florida, launching a last-ditch attempt to sue her younger sibling for comments this one's wife made in the Netflix documentary and in the Winfrey interview in March 2021. In the unlikely event Samantha succeeds, this one's wife could be hauled to court, forced to testify and release private messages and emails, all of that, of course, being substantial threats to control. Samantha insists that she and her younger sibling were close growing up. This one's wife has said that she grew up as an only child who longed for siblings. Revision of history. This one's wife continues to participate in and perpetuate the lies around her family and upbringing, read the court filing. Family drama aside, there are snipes that this one's wife, 42, is simply enjoying the cash from both the $100 million 5-year Netflix deal which the couple signed when their stock was riding high back in 2020, and Harry's pull-no-punches memoir Spare. A recent skit in an episode of Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane's cartoon sitcom, shows Harry and this one's wife lounging by a swimming pool as a liveried butler delivers them an envelope with the line, "Sir, your millions from Netflix for no one knows what." Time will tell whether the couple's latest streaming gambit, buying the rights to adapt the romance novel Meet Me at the Lake, will pay off for their Hollywood backers. For months there's been chatter about a This One's Wife 2.0 relaunch. The term This One's Wife's naissance has even been bandied about, which we can only pray doesn't stick as well as Megxit did. In September, the Daily Telegraph reported that the former actress was preparing to launch a major new commercial venture, which still hasn't fucking appeared, and that a return to Instagram was imminent, which still hasn't happened. Overexcitable pundits predicted that she could command Kardashian levels of cash for a single social media post. Load of nonsense, see parts passing. But she might need to change tack first. She's going through a major rebrand right now, says Stacey Jones, founder of the LA-based marketing agency Hollywood Branded, adding that the Duchess needs to stop her woe is me shtick. The narrative has really circulated more around the victimization. It's circled around race. It's circled around poor This One's Wife and Harry. And that's not a platform you can build a brand on. Indeed, repeated pity plays become very boring very quickly. The timing for reinvention makes sense. In June, the couple were ditched from their estimated £18 million Spotify contract, brokered in 2020, after producing only 12 episodes of This One's Wife's widely panned Archetypes podcast. In it, she made some of the world's most dazzling women, Serena Williams, Paris Hilton and Mariah Carey, sound dull, just again demonstrating what a talent-free zone she is. Just because you're famous doesn't make you great at something, said Jeremy Zimmer, the United Talent Agency chief executive at the time. Bill Simmons, a top Spotify executive, was more brutal. The fucking grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them. In July, Rolling Stone magazine ran a piece headlined "This One's Wife and Prince Harry are in their flop era." It all feels a long way from the bunting rollout when the pair first landed in the Golden State in 2020. Speculation that This One's Wife was about to sign a big bucks deal with Amazon's Audible, the home of Barack and Michelle Obama's audio content, was shut down last week, with Audible dismissing the reports as bunkum. One Los Angeles media insider wondered if the rumours originated from This One's Wife's own camp to try to drum up interest. Undoubtedly the case. Most businesses would hesitate to work with the Sussexes after the chaos that was Spotify, she says. So what next? This month there will be renewed interest in the never-ending royal saga thanks to the release of the 6th and final series of The Crown. We're entering the Chelsea Davy era, as well as the publication of Chief This One's Wife Watcher, the improbably named plastic-faced lieutenant, Omid Scobie's new book, Endgame. A teaser for the book on Amazon described it as a penetrating investigation into the current state of the British monarchy. An unpopular king, a power-hungry heir to the throne, a queen willing to go to dangerous lengths to preserve her image, and a prince forced to start a new life after being betrayed by his own family. Not much bias there, is there? Published on November 28th, it is subtitled Inside the Royal Family and the Monarchy's Fight for Survival. However, there is speculation that This One's Wife will end up focusing on her own memoir, according to Tom Bauer. The tale of going from deal or no deal suitcase carrier to persecuted princess would obviously sell. It will be This One's Wife's truth. There will be a readership for it because she'll undoubtedly settle some scores from her point of view, says Bauer, which in other language means the usual revision of history from her, as she seeks to nullify threats to control that had been generated against her. What she says she said to the Queen, to Kate, to Philip, all that will be in the book, whether corroborated or not, and that's a gold mine. The Sussexes' 2022 deal with Penguin Random House was allegedly £16 million for $4. So far, we've just had Harry's account of his frostbitten penis. A spokesperson for the Duchess denied that she was working on a memoir. It's unrealistic that This One's Wife will lie low for much longer, if indeed you do accept that she's been lying low. In April, she signed up with talent agency William Morris Endeavour, where she works with heavyweight agent Ari Emanuel. This One's Wife and Harry's mistake was creating too much content too soon, sharing too much, and completely destroying the romantic mystery that surrounds the idea of real royalty, says Kinsey Schofield, an LA-based royal commentator. Now it's up to WME to try to get the toothpaste back in the tube. For others, the WME collaboration indicates that This One's Wife wants to revive her former career. I think she is absolutely going to return to acting, says Jones. With the popularity of Suits on Netflix right now, there have been rumblings on whether the show could actually come back. None of this is concrete, however, and progress on Project This One's Wife remains murky. Rumours of a reboot of her pre-Harry lifestyle blog The Tig proved hollow. Ditto a collaboration with Christian Dior. Ditto This One's Wife signing up for a sequel to The Bodyguard. Might politics be a viable option? I'm sure that in the long term she's hoping to get some sort of Democrat domination. Bauer says the thing about This One's Wife is that she does work hard. No, she doesn't. She's lazy. She's not so slouch. Yes, she is, and has huge ambition. Well, she does. This One's Wife watchers are in agreement that her problem seems to be carving out a clear new path while also regaining lost popularity. The car chase debacle in New York in May did not help her cause. The couple claimed they were dangerously pursued by paparazzi through Manhattan following a charity gala. The New York Police Department was unimpressed. Her most important strategy now will be that she's not contaminated by any scandal, Bauer says. It's bad for the brand. She doesn't want to be controversial. She doesn't want to be in any way accused of the sins of bullying and all the rest. Meanwhile, Archwell, the Sussex's charitable endeavour, is slowly ticking along and held its first in-person event in New York about mental health and technology last month. But This One's Wife's strange 40 by 40 project, which aimed to help women re-enter the workforce, was quietly dropped after a year. Reason being, as I've explained to you many times, if you can get the prime aims by talking about it and not doing it, that's what happens. Nature abhors a vacuum, and with nothing of substance coming out of Camp This One's Wife, salacious gossip is swirling. The marriage is on the rocks. Harry has a Monty shit show hotel room set aside for occasional solo escapes. This One's Wife is casting around for her new leading man, and so on. I would measure the duration of the marriage in years rather than decades, says Graydon Carter, the founder and co-editor of Air Mail. I think she's run rings around poor Harry and gotten what she wanted: notoriety, money, and a title. His usefulness to her diminishes daily. Carter, a former editor of Vanity Fair who was in the UK for Air Mail's London list, a who's who of the hottest people and places in the capital, spent decades among the great and good of Hollywood. He poo-poos the idea of this one's wife returning to acting. If there is a Real Housewives of Monte shit show in the works, she'd be a shoe-in. Whatever her true workload, there's time for play. Beyoncé concerts, Lakers basketball games, and Michelin star nights out with Cameron Diaz. There was a recent holiday to the Caribbean. But Hollywood experts such as Jones believe that when it comes to this one's wife's big rebrand, time is of the essence. She's being given this massive opportunity, but she's not really seizing it. Well, and that's because her narcissism tells her it will just come easily to her because she's amazing and brilliant, and she still remains deluded about the level of unpopularity that she has. The article actually is quite a detailed one, telling us she's not been really doing a huge amount. Yes, she hasn't laid low in the way that the article describes, but once again, what it does show is how little this one's wife actually does. There haven't been that many events. There haven't been that many appearances. What does she do all day, given the fact that she has a staff, given that she has a nanny? She's not looking after the children. She's not working on amazing content. She's basically just lolling around, drawing in fuel by going on social media. And it wouldn't surprise me that if she spends quite a bit of her time posing under different names on social media as part of her attempts to nullify threat to control, she's that petty, and as a mid-ranger may well get drawn into that rather than just stepping over it like a greater narcissist would do. An interesting article nonetheless, which provides quite a recap of the year in relation to her, and throughout all of which you are able to understand all of those behaviours because of her narcissism. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.